Greetings everyone. As you all know, I bought 2 servers and asked you guys to evaluate them. So far, everyone prefers server B, which I thought was a bit strange, and I'll tell you why later. Unfortunately, just getting 1 or 2 people online at the same time doesn't really represent the real server load that we're going to expect when we release MCAlagaesia. So, I recently downloaded a program and became an expert hacker. Here's why I'm going to ignore the poll results. So, here you can see me testing the first server, a.mcalagaesia.com. As soon as I start the attack, we get a bunch of random fake accounts joining. All of these accounts are requesting the spawn chunks from the server and sending data back, much like a normal player. That's why you can see the network usage jump from about 5 to 10 kilobytes to 7 or 8 megabytes, and then later even to 9 megabytes. This means the server is utilizing its full 100 megabit bandwidth. Now I'm starting to fly around to see if chunk loading was taking a hit, and surprisingly the answer was not really. Keep in mind that I'm flying around in speed 5 here. Anyone walking on the ground will be moving at a fraction of this speed, even when sprinting, so you're never really going to run into an issue where the chunks aren't loading, unless you have a really bad internet connection. So, after a minute of chunk testing, I decided to go into survival mode and test block breaking and see how fast the blocks would drop. Again, I was pleasantly surprised. From breaking the block to the drop appearing, there was an average delay of less than half a second. If you ignore the block breaking particle animation, the drop is nearly instant. Also, this is a pretty good example of how the player would see the world. You can see all the chunks are loaded in, despite the attack. So the maximum player count that we reached during this test was about 150 players online at the same time. And after I stop the attack, you can see that the bandwidth usage goes back down to a couple of kilobytes. And now I'm running the exact same test on the server b.mcalagaesia.com. This is the server that the most people have voted for in the poll. Now, both of these servers are completely identical in every way except for the location. Server A is hosted in France and server B is hosted in Canada. Once again, the test starts out normally and we get a bunch of fake players joining. Like in the first test, the bandwidth shoots straight up, but in this case it caps out at 2.5 megabytes. Now this is why I was surprised that everyone preferred server B. The network is absolutely terrible, and even though it has the same advertised bandwidth as server A, it just doesn't match that. However, when only 1 or 2 people are connected, the server is going to perform fine, which the poll reflects. But this test reflects how the server would perform under conditions a bit closer to what we're expecting during the opening event. Once again, I'm flying around to test chunk loading, but this time you can clearly see that the performance is far worse. I'm standing on the edge of the chunks for a few seconds before the next row loads in. So I'm going to speed this up so you don't have to wait. Now here's something else interesting. I'm just standing here waiting for chunks to load when suddenly I get attacked. Ah, fantastic, the server's working. Oh, no, I take that back. So I'm doing the block breaking test now. Now I'm surprised how quickly they dropped, given how bad the chunk loading was. However, the delay is still an average of almost 2 seconds, which, as I'm sure you will agree, is pretty unacceptable. Once again, I found myself being attacked by a laggy zombie. When I stop the test, the server bandwidth returns from 1.7 megabytes down to a few kilobytes. In the end, I'm going to have to decide between giving a great Minecraft experience to 20 players or a good one to hundreds. Because we're expecting so many players, at least in the first few months after release, we're going to have to ignore everything the poll says and go with server A, the best performer.